backs of their labor, and you don't get a dime, you don't get no reparations. Everybody else get reparations. The Japanese get reparations, the Indians get reparations, the Germans, everybody, and you don't get nothing but a penny, but more rejection and more beat down and more people saying you don't deserve nothing. You tell me you ain't been in bondage, you ain't been confiscated, you've been compensated for the first 246 years. Let's know the other years up to where we are today. So the days come, says the Most High, is that he's going to turn again that captivity, where they're not going to have that economic advantage over us that they've had historically since 1619. And also he says that he's going to turn the captivity of Jerusalem. Now, who occupies Jerusalem? Jerusalem is occupied by the Jewish state, the state of Israel. That's who occupies Jerusalem. So the Jewish people occupy Jerusalem, America occupy us. So if the Most High gonna set us free, he's got to get rid of two powers. The two powers that occupy us and keep us down. That's Jerusalem, which is the Jewish state, and Judah, which is the United States. So the Most High says that what we're reading here, that behold, in those days and at that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, what you gonna do, Yah? I will also gather all nations and bring them down unto the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. So what happened to your people, Yah? Yah says his people been scattered among the nations. He's talking about the transatlantic slave trade. He's talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And just to add on to what you're saying, when you see that word, the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them, the root word is Saphat, and it don't say plead, which you already know how the King James Version gives it. It's judge them. So he's going to bring them down and judge them, because even my elder's name, Jehoshaphat, his name means the judgment of Yahweh. So, this is a day of judgment that's going to take place. But continue on, Elder. I just want to say that the floor is yours. Oh, we got in the building, founder of the Way of Yah broadcast, network, Netflix. How you say it? Netflix, right? Netflix, you know, up and coming film director, maker. We got the brother Don Mikael Ben Yahuda in the building. So this is gonna be very, very, very interesting. But go ahead, Elder. You got people in the audience saying they never heard this being broke down like this. And this is why I'm glad DJ Genesis, give a shout out to her for giving us this platform, because like I've been saying, the Hebrew Israelite way of life is not a monolith. So I'm glad she let me bring the scholars that taught me. This is the brother here that's talking. He is my first teacher in Israelite nationalism. He's the one that gave me the inspiration to develop Hebrew Israelite sovereign national. As a matter of fact, if you want to be technical, I consider him what you would consider the father of Hebrew Israelite nationalism, because on record, he's the first one, Elder Jehoshaphat, to push that principle out there, not only just by words and actions, but also with that specific label. But let's continue on. Drop that science, Elder.
Yeah, all praise to the Most High. Yeah, I give him all praise. I give him all glory. I give him all honor. So all praise to be to the Most High. You're absolutely correct. Judge, not plead. Correct. But I referenced the KJV basically because I deal with a lot of people from the outer side. But when we get to the specifics, you're absolutely correct. I totally agree with you. But the point we were making here is that the Most High said that his heritage, which is his people, that they have been scattered among the nations. And scattered among the nations, we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. We're talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade. And the transatlantic slave trade, it brought us westward, and the sub-Saharan slave trade brought our people eastward, toward the eastern part of the world, toward the four corners, as the Most High said it would be. And then after they had done this, the Most High said, and parted my land. And this is what they have done. They parted the land in 1948. when Harry Truman gave the European Jewish converts the land of Israel and established the Jewish state of Israel in May of 1948. And this was done by the United States of America. It was done by Britain. It was done by France. All of these nations that we referenced earlier as the Iron Nations. So they came in and actually dominated the area and oppressed the Palestinians and gave the area to the European Jewish converts. And so from that point on, you've had iron versus clay. You've had the Palestinians, the oppressed, the brown people, the people that's been occupied and colonized, and then you come in with the Jewish state backed by the United States, Britain, France, and they come in with an iron fist, and they come in and they take the land in 1948, they expand in 1956, they expand to take Jerusalem in 1967, they expand to take the Golan in 1973, they expand to take Lebanon in 1982, and so now you have the perimeters of the so-called Jewish state that we have here today. So this prophetically speaking, but the Most High says that the days come, says the Most High, as I read just, to bring, for the sake of time, the Most High said this in verse 6 of what I'm reading. I go down to verse 6. It says, the children also of Judah, Black America, and the children of Jerusalem, again, Black America, have you sold. So the Most High saying that his people, Judah, Jerusalem, have been sold. Now, brothers and sisters, do your historical homework. When have the so-called European Jewish man ever been sold? When has he ever been sold? They don't even fit the script of who the Most High say the people are. They cannot be the people based on what we just read. His people must have been scattered among the nations in bondage. His people must have had yokes placed on their neck. They had to be bound in chains and shackled and scattered into the foreign nations and in captivity, according to the scriptures of what we're reading right here. They have never experienced that. What they have done is taken your identity while you've been given another identity. But let me read just one more verse and I'm going to go back and let someone ask some questions. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. And who are the Grecians? The Europeans, the Spaniards, the British, the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their borders. Talking about the United States of America. And so here we have been under occupation, under mental occupation, behind enemy lines, with an iron curtain of deception that we've been dealing with for 400 years, an iron curtain of deception to teach us their perspective and give us a dysfunctional personality that they call American Negro, which is a made in American product, because you can't find an American Negro nowhere else but in America. And so the American Negro or the Black or the African American or the colored is actually a made in American product, which is a dysfunctional personality. It's not a nationality. It's not a nationality that tells the people where they come from, where they originate from, where they're going, who they are, what their language is. It don't answer none of that. African American, Black, it don't answer none of that. That's a dysfunctional personality that they gave you so you can be an inmate in prison. Just like when you go to jail, you get a number and you get this and that. So you was in prison, so they had to give you a number. Your name Harry Tucker, and you Harry Tucker, and so you the American Negro over here. And so this has been your prison sentence for the last 400 years. Harry Tucker, Social Security number, this and that and that. You've been an inmate in the United States of America. And the Creator says that they removed us far from their borders. But look what the Most High said he's going to do. And this is prophetic. This is the day that we're looking at right here today. The Creator says these words: behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them. So the places like the United States of America and elsewhere, where we've actually been sold as bondmen and bondwomen, and nobody has been able to redeem us out of this situation, whether it's Dr. King, whether it's Malcolm X, whether it's Marcus Garvey, whether it's Nat Turner, whether it's Frederick Douglass, that goes on. But the Most High said, and no man shall redeem you. But in these days and time, the Most High says, I will raise them up out of the place where you have sold them and will return your recompense upon your own head. So the Most High says he's going to raise us up and break them down. And this is what we see happening in the Middle East today. We see in the beginning of that process. The 400-year captivity is up. This is the completion of the first 7-year cycle after our 400-year captivity, which completed in 2019. And look what happened at the end of the first 7 years. We got to count down to the Battle of Armageddon. And the United States of America will not win in this war. The United States of America will meet its prophetic fate, which is written in Jeremiah chapter 50 and Jeremiah chapter 51 and Isaiah chapter 47. So the United States of America, as we know it, it will not exist in the next decade to come, because things are not going to happen overnight, because the Most High don't work like that. The Most High tells us in the book of Isaiah, he tells us how he worked, like the rain and the snow fall from heaven and they soak in the earth and then give seed to the sower. And then after that, after it's grown, then it get bread to the eater. We know it takes time for that. You have to wait till it rain. You have to wait till it snow. You have to wait till it's soak in the ground. You have to wait till the seasons till the seed become a crop. You have to wait till the harvest time. You have to cut it down. You have to process the crop. You have to make the bread. You got to cook the bread, put it in the oven, take it out, let it cool off before you can eat it. So it's a process. This is what he said, this is my way. My ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts great. So this is the way that the Creator does. He does things in the process of time. So what I'm saying this evening is that in the process of time, we're moving toward these events that we've just referenced here in the book of Joel. That's my statement. And so we as a people, we got to first do like our ancestors. When it was time for them to come out of Egypt, you got to liberate your mind. Because first you got to liberate your mind before, if you don't liberate your mind, then you still have a slave mind when you go to the wilderness, and you just basically still be a backwards people. So the first step is that we have to liberate our mind. And that's what we're talking about tonight. The fact that we are somebody, and we're more than what they ever told us that we were. We are a nation of people with our own unique spirituality, our own unique nationality. And the United States of America has not referenced that or told us that. They've only, again, as I said earlier, they've only given us a name and an inmate number. And so this is what we've been dealing with for the last 400, and at this point, 407 years. And if our people don't liberate their mind, they'll be here for years on, because you have to do something to make something happen. We're not dealing with church where you just sit back and just clap your hands and wait on something to pop through the sky. We're not talking about anything like that. We're talking about people with Yah consciousness, men and women who know what time it is and know what Israel ought to do, and they're moving in a spiritual vibration, and they know that they must do what's necessary in order for them to liberate themselves with the assistance of the Most High going before them, like a cloud of pillar by day and a pillar of fire by night. And so these people are this exceedingly great army that come up from the Valley of the Dry Bones, which is one of the valleys here in the United States of America. And so this is our moment, family. The Most High is actually doing all of this, that his people may replace what we see on the geopolitical scene today, which is these governments of the earth today. Because all of these governments of the earth today, whether we realize it or not, all of these governments are anti-Yah. They're anti-Yah to the core. And this is what the Most High revealed to the ancient prophet Daniel. This takes us back also prophetically with the beginning of a situation that we find ourselves in and today. And that is when the kingdom of Judah fell. When the kingdom of Judah fell, historically speaking, when the ancient Israelites were taken over into Babylon. And when they were taken to Babylon, the Most High moving to let us know what time it is, because he wanted us to know how long we were going to be in captivity. But it wasn't use of giving a dream to a slave. He gave the dream or the nightmare to the most important man at the time, which was the #1 emperor of the world, which was Nebuchadnezzar. And so Nebuchadnezzar, being the #1 emperor of the world, the most powerful man at that time, the Most High put a terrifying nightmare upon him that he could not understand. And it troubled his spirit. And he wanted to know what it was, but he couldn't figure out what it was, because the Most High gave it to him, but then he snatched it away from him. And when he snatched it away from him, he could remember that it's something that was important that he needed to know, but he just couldn't recollect. And so it disturbed him so much that he actually called an emergency session and brought all his wise men in and asked all his wise men to tell him what he had dreamed and give him the meaning, the interpretation of that dream. And he brought in all of his scholars, all of his astronomers. He brought in all of his Ivy League specialists. He brought in all of the know-it-hows, the Chaldeans, all the people that were supposed to be the heavy hitters at that day. And when he told them that, they could not give him any answer to what he had seen or what it meant. And so at that point, he wanted to cut off everybody, even the slaves. And that's how it is in captivity. They never include us with the good stuff, but when it's the bad stuff, they start talking about we in trouble. I'm not in trouble, you in trouble. Just like when you count your money, it's not my money, it's your money. So when you have problems, it's not my problem, it's y'all problems. It ain't my problems, it's their problem. But anyway, and so now we got problems. So now everybody is lumped into the group. So even the Hebrews, even Daniel, even his brethren. And so at this point, they're about to be cut off for no reason whatsoever. But the Most High was setting this situation up for us today. Little do they realize in that day. But anyway, as they began to execute the Most High and Daniel, the Most High gave to Daniel and his brethren the interpretation of the dream. And when they learned the interpretation of the dream, they were able to come in and they were able to give the answer to the king. And what they told the king is what the world has seen today. And this is why we know that the Most High does live and that the dream was certain and the interpretation was true. He told Nebuchadnezzar that you were the head of gold. And he also told him that after him, there will be another kingdom that will rise after him. And he said that will be the chest and the arms of silver. This was another great empire. This was the ancient Persian Empire. This is the empire that we're looking at right today in a conflict with the United States of America, the Persian Empire, the ancient Persian Empire. And so after the ancient Persian Empire, which lasts 300 plus years, after the Persian Empire, then the Grecian Empire came in. And the Grecian Empire was the first European empire to exist on the face of the earth, for the record. Before the Grecian Empire, all the empires that you read about, when you go back and read about the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Assyrians, when you read about all these Oriental people of ancient antiquity, all of these people are what we call Black people today. They're what we call Black people today. And so when the Greeks came along, the Greeks were the first non-melanated people to actually occupy world power. And this is when Alexander came out of Greece, out of Europe, and came down into the Middle East, and came down and passed through Israel and going to Egypt and spanned over toward Persia. And after the Grecians, they split. After his death, they split. And after the four splits of the Grecian Empire, then you had the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire was considered the Iron Empire because the Roman Empire, it became the most dominant world power that had ever existed among all the powers before it. This is why the Most High referred to it as the Iron. They had power that went all the way from the British Isles, all the way over to Iran, which is Persia today, all the way into North Africa. The Romans ruled all this territory, and they ruled all this territory until the Most High split the Roman Empire. And when he split the Roman Empire, you had the Eastern world and you had the Western world. And we moved down the annals of time, down the legs of time. And as we move down thousands of years of time, moving on down time. And so we finally come down to a time where we come to the feet. And so how will we know when we come to the feet? Well, we would just have to look at our body to understand what the feet does. When you look at your feet is the part of your body that supports your entire body. Your feet supports your legs. Your feet supports your torso. Your feet supports your chest, your arms, your head, your neck. Every part of your body is supported by your feet. So what kingdom did we have in the last days that became like feet that supported every kingdom that came before it? This global kingdom, it had to support the gold, it had to support the silver, it had to support the brass, it had to support the iron. We know that that global kingdom is the United Nations. the United Nations is the feet. It is the global kingdom that all the nations of the earth come and sit at there. You got 193 nations on the face of the earth. And all 193 nations of the earth, they sit at the UN. And they sit under one roof at one table. And they support the whole global order. The feet. Every time they have a problem, where do they run? The UN. This happened. Let's go to the UN. That happened. Let's go to the UN. This happened. That's the feet. It's supporting the whole system. It's supposed to be the international order, as they call it. It's supposed to be the international order that supports the global heathen empire. And this is the heathen empire that we live in up under heathen dominion. And so it's supposed to support the entire heathen dominion throughout the end of the earth. The United Nations does that. But there's one problem. When Daniel looked at the feet and he told Nebuchadnezzar, he said, well, when I looked at the feet and the toes, they were partly iron and they was partly clay. And what this was meant, that you would have two spears of power, two spears. One spear of power would be partly iron and another spear of power would be partly clay. They would not be whole toes, because if you look at your toes, you have 5 toes on one feet and you have 5 toes on another feet. But if you looked at your toes and each one of your toes was divided and your big toe was partly iron and partly clay, and your index and your middle and your outer and your small toe, each were partly clay and partly iron, you would have, if you counted it, you would have 10 partly iron toes and you would have 10 partly clay toes. That is what you would have. So you would have 2 spears of power. And these 2 spears of power, the Most High said the global order of the kingdom would be divided because iron and clay does not cleave one to another. And so when we look at the world today, we see these 2 spears of power. We see one spear that's a descendant of the ancient Roman Empire, and that's the Europeans. The European man is a descendant of the ancient Roman Empire. And so they come collectively under the umbrella of European Union, NATO, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, World Health Organization. They come under these umbrellas, but collectively they come together as Europeans, 10 of them, and their global allies. And they come together to dominate the world. But in the last days, when you get down to the toes, the Most High said, no, it's going to be another spear. It's going to be partly clay. And these partly clay, which appeared in 2008, is BRICS. And this is Brazil, this is Russia, this is India, this is China, this is South Africa, this is also Egypt, this is Ethiopia, this is Iran, this is Iran, United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia. All of these non-Western, non-developing, all these nations that have been oppressed and beat down dirt like poor, like clay, they had to raise up and liberate themselves and become a dominant power to stand toe-to-toe to divide the world system. So now China is just as powerful as America. And now Russia got just as many missiles as America. Now India is just as great a trading power as Germany. And so now we see that at Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, that being a clay nation, that he's breaking away from France, which is an iron nation that dominated Burkina Faso for hundreds of years. So we see the 2 spears of power appearing right before our eyes, partly iron and partly clay. And this is what we see today. And so what we see happening in the Middle East right now with Iran, you see Russia, China uniting with Iran to oppose the partly iron toes on this side. And this is the countdown to the battle of Armageddon. And what Daniel said in the 44th verse was, in the days of these kings shall the power, Elohim of heaven, Yah, set up a kingdom which will not be a part of these people. In other words, the kingdoms that we see today, they're about to get removed, family. And the Most High is about to bring a new world order in. And in the new world order, we will be the rulers of the new world order. But when we rule the new world order, it's not going to be based on the rules and regulations of these wicked men who've had dominion from the head of gold down to the toes, because they're going to be swept away. And the Most High is going to restore righteousness upon the face of the earth. And we, the people that's been oppressed, that's been scattered among the nations, the Most High going to give us our just due. And our just due is like any other nation. You deserve your own land. You deserve your own language. You deserve your own economy. You deserve your own spirituality. You deserve to know who you are, where you come from, who your power is, and the Most High gonna bless us to do that. Those who return to the message of what we're trying to share with our people today. Their day is up. This is why they failing in this mission. They don't even want to tell you the depths of their failure. Within the last 2 weeks, they got almost 1,000 troops that's been lost. But when you look at news, they talking about 8 soldiers. That's the biggest lie that's ever been told. They've lost all of their military bases throughout the Gulf area. Iran has attacked all their satellites. Iran it's a devastating loss, and it's coming after the completion of the 400 years. I knew the Most High wasn't going to be with them. And I knew since our captivity is up, the Most High says the days come that He's going to loose the yoke off our neck. And who's had the yoke on our neck? They had the yoke on our neck. So to free us, He got to take the yoke out of their hand and loosen it so we can stand up and be free. So this is what we're looking at. Yes, sir.
That's it.
Right.
Again,
So, you know what? That was a lot of information.
listen, that was pure fire. We listen. He not done. He not done. He not even done. I just cut him off.
Hold on. Let me just do this. Okay.
What?
Now we do have some new people that have joined the conversation. On top of Mikhail Ben-Yah, we also have Kevin Kidd. So let's because we have people might have questions. Let's
Tell them to hold their questions. Let this Queen finish his lesson. Then after his lesson, then everybody ask questions and answer.
All right, y'all cool
Let
with
the
that?
elder let the elder build. Yeah, I mean, then after he built his lesson, then we ask him questions. Because I don't even want, when I said Cain saw Queen, I was just in agreement. I don't even want you to stop. Keep going.
Cain. All right, my brother. And and I just want to thank the Most High. I'm here to give all praise, all glory, and all honor to the Most High. I do. I'm here because I love my people. I want to see the best of my people. I know that we as a people that we've been miseducated. I know we as a people we've been misdirected. And I know that it's so much that you can hear and so many directions that you can take that, sometimes it's kind of difficult to make the right choices. But, even in the state of complexity that we find ourselves, what we're saying, what the Creator Yah does, and I only can testify on His behalf, is that what Yah does is that He gives us spiritual clarity. And He gives us spiritual clarity. And what I mean by that, He tells you the raw truth, the naked truth, exactly how it is. He tells us one thing. He tells us that in America, He tells us as people point blank that this is the land of the enemy. This is what He said. This is the land of the enemy. And so when the Creator tells me that somebody my enemy, I'm going to listen to what the Creator tells me. I'm not going to take that lightly and take that as if that's just something that's been said. He's saying that for a reason. And so our people don't know that. And that's what happened to them in Tuskegee. They say, what? We're going to come and give y'all, we want to make sure that you're all okay. We want to vaccinate you all and see that you're okay, to see how you make sure you're vaccinated. All the time they're trying to shoot the people up with, syphilis. But see, if you don't know that's how He works and who He is, then you smiling faces sometimes, as they say. They do what? They tell lies. But sometimes, you got to be well and pat on your back. Black America, it just might hold you back. And that's real talk. Don't let the head shake and the smile fool you. I mean, the Most High just trying to school you. He said, this is the land of the enemy. whether you accepted Black America or whether you don't. And that's why you get played on, because for the most majority part, our people don't accept it. And so they fall into these different traps. I mean, they fall into all these traps that they set. And they expect us to be less than a man and to be a mouse. Because if you set a trap for a mouse and then cheese right there, he don't have no intellect. He'll just see cheese and go boom, and he'll just have his neck broke. But if you got intellect and you got clarity, you'll say, oh, that's a trap. I'm gonna go around that. But again, if you don't have spiritual clarity and you don't understand things like that, you'll be just like the mouse. So when they go and go to Peru and Bolivia and all these places, Colombia, and bring tons of cocaine over into your neighborhood and try to get people to, string you people out on rocks and things like that. If you understand what you're dealing with, and then on top of that, they put the guns in there to go along with the rocks right there, then turn around and then use the technological wizardry of technology of using the voice and putting it on wax that they call music. And all of a sudden start putting them negative vibrations in your ear. Kill that, telling you, talking to you like that, putting that rhythm in your ear, making you think that's cool, giving you just an anti-human being culture and putting all these negative vibrations into you. The next thing you don't know your enemy is turning you against yourself. He's turning you against yourself, against your own best interest. And what you do is turn the gun on yourself. In the 1960s, they said Black Power, let's fight for liberation. But in the 2000s, they say we got Bloods and Crips, we got this and that. We're going to turn the guns on each other. Boom, we're against each other. So look what they have done. The land of the enemy. Look how crafty they are. Very crafty. You talk about crafty. They're some of the most craftiest people that it is. Iran learned that, how crafty you are. Come to the peace. Let's talk. We want to see, can we sit down and come up with an agreement? They go sit down, talk at the table. Next thing you know, boom, the next night their head man dead. So crafty. You're talking about crafty. Get you over here to the United States of America. Get you behind the enemy lines. Get you where you can't read, you can't write. Put you over here, then send the Christian missionaries out there to you and tell them, mislead them. Go on out there and mislead them. That's what you do. Go mislead them. They can't read. They can't write. They don't have any intellect. And think it's against the law. But tell them to believe. Just believe. Believe in what we say to you. So we wouldn't lie to you, beating you back. We wouldn't lie to you. And so our people who go to church every Sunday don't realize the historical. That's why I said the different perspectives that you have to look at these things from. Our people who willingly embrace this today don't realize how this stuff all got started under duress and stress at the barrel of a whip and the barrel of a gun. And now you under mental intimidation and the duress of a POW occupied in prison of war. Now mentally you identify with the enemy instead of yourself. So this is how crafty these people have been. And so now today, we work against our own self-interest. Case in point, they say Black America is worth $1 trillion. That's what they say when you add up all the money, 600 billion to $1 trillion. But do you know that collectively that we work against ourselves so bad that most of that money, it funnels right back to them and keep them going? That's why they want us to have credit and assets and integrate, because we're the one that stimulate the economy. So you ain't stimulating the Black neighborhood. You ain't stimulating your own self. You stimulate their economy. You're making them rich. You're setting them up. And so cold-blooded about it, you enjoy doing it. But when a brother come or a sister come and come to you with a project, an idea or something like that, we as a people, collectively, we won't even get behind it. We don't even have faith in ourselves. You tell me the enemy not crafty. You tell me not crafty. This is the cursed mindset in which he exploits, and which he pimps, and which he keeps us down. The stranger gets up high above us, and we come down very low, because our mind, it's in the mind. It's in the mind. It's the cursed mindset. Until we come together with the blessed mindset, This is how we undo our shackles. That's why I said liberate our minds. Case in point, 40 million people. We'll never do it, but 40 million people, $1 a day. That's $40 million. You do it 4 weeks. That's $160 million. You do it for a year. That's $1.2 billion. You do it for 10 years. You're talking about tens of billions of dollars. So you could take $1 if people had consciousness and people had collective and people had wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. It's enough of us to take $1 and liberate ourselves. Off $1, if we did just a week, $1 a week collected. But the enemy, again, he's so crafty. He's so crafty. You don't even trust me to give me $1. And the first thing you'll say is, what that nigga gonna do with that dollar? I don't believe that. How we know he ain't gonna do this? Well, how you know the bank's gonna do what they say they do? Especially in the light of what we're seeing in this day and time. But let me transition over to what we're seeing on a global economic era for what we're seeing now, which is very important to us. That's overall, in spite of what I just said. When we look at the war today, we see and look at the world geographically, and you look at the Persian Gulf. On one side sits Iran. On the other side, you have the Arabian Peninsula. And the Arabian Peninsula, it has these Gulf nations. It has Saudi Arabia, it has Bahrain, it has Kuwait, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Oman. These, what they call Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. These collective Arab nations, they are the oil producers that produce a majority of the oil that stimulates the global economy. They stimulate the global economy with oil. China, the oil coming through that. India, Japan, the oil coming through there. All the major powers, the oil is coming through there. Europe, the oil is coming through there. On one side, you got the Arabian Peninsula. On the other side, you got Iran. They have to go to this little area called the Strait of Hormuz. And the Strait of Hormuz is a narrow strip. It's only 21 miles wide. When you come through, you have to make a little turn because you're in them big old oil tankers. And you have to turn the things way ahead of time to make them turn. So, they real big and long. And so too many of them can't come through there at the same time because it's only 21 miles wide. And you talk about these gigantic oil tankers that's passing through there. Well, this is a flashpoint. This is the flashpoint for this war right here that has nothing to do with fighting on the ground, has everything to do with the dollar and everything to do with the economy that we dependent on right now at this point. Well, as the oil come through this, we heard, and I've been tracking this and I stay up on it, because that's a part of my job. Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. The only ships that can come through that strait are the ships that they allow. And those are going to be the ships that's allied with them. But the other nations, they depend on this energy that comes through the Strait of Hormuz also. They can't get it. Right now, you got several poor nations that's gasping for breath. Japan said if they do not get energy from the straits in 8 to 9 months, then their economy is going to collapse. This is what Japan said. Now, Japan is the number 3 world economy. Iran knows this. Iran, technically speaking, if this Iron Man want to continue to drop nuclear tactical weapons on him and continue to plummet him and plummet him and plummet him and plummet him, they can do that. But one thing they can't stop him from closing the Strait of Hormuz. And they can't stop him from attacking those Arab nations where the oil is being produced. If Iran shut down the oil, don't let the ships come through, America ain't gonna have no petrodollars coming in. And America is propped up by petrodollars. If American economy go into a tailspin because the oil prices are going up real high, we're gonna see gasoline prices through the roof. We're gonna see utility bills through the roof. We're gonna see food prices through the roof. We're gonna see chaos in the streets and the roof, because the Most High is not with this man as he does this. He really stepped into a trap. The Most High laid a snare. This is what Jeremiah said. If you read the book of Jeremiah, the Most High said, I have laid a snare for you, O daughter of Babylon. And this is a snare that Trump has walked in. The Most High put him he baited him in with Venezuela, thinking that it would be the same in Iran, only for his failure. And we're looking at, but the Most High is going to give us time. This is why things are going to happen in the process of time. But we got to be informed because we're going into the next decade. We done passed the midpoint. We're in 2026, we're going to 2027, we're going to 28, 29, and we're going toward the next decade, the 30s. By the time we transition, a lot of these things that we're talking about tonight, they're going to be to manifest themselves. So you need to be aware of these things ahead of time so you can pre-position yourself and have yourself in a position to do the things that you need to do or we need to do collectively as a people so we can survive and we can continue and not be dependent and base our destiny and our future on the United States of America. This is something that we should not do. I'm telling our people, when they say Blaxit, which is break away, we need to get ready to make the exodus, to break away, to begin to formulate our finances in an independent manner that we can move collectively and that we will not be dependent upon whatever the fate that this country faces in the future to come. So I'm gonna stop here and share because you said the other brother was here and I've spoken for a while and I want him to come in and say, you know, whatever the Most High has placed on his heart and share, you know, this conversation as well. So I'm gonna cease for a while and just, you know, become part of the council and see what, you know, some of the brothers and sisters may want to say for a while.
How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
King, yes, we can hear you, brother.
Yeah.
Peace. All right, look, man, you was dropping some knowledge for one. And I had, like, as you was building, I had came up with a few questions, but, you know, some of them may have slipped away from me. But one of the questions when you were speaking about how you were speaking about America and how we going about the situation with it, and then you was giving the prophecy to it when you were reading that. And you said how when you wrote the prophecy, when you read the prophecy, you broke down how that scripture applies to today and it was written thousands of years ago. It made me ponder the question that the way that America thought that we was ruling and how you know how you gave the breakdown and the understanding of what's to come in the prophecy. Do you think, like, with you understanding that prophecy and maybe other people like you, do you think that the clay people, you know, like the Eastern, you know, the Western is the iron fist, which is us, you know, the European nations and whatnot, and you know, we're not meaning America, but the clay ones, which is, you know, the ones you were referring to, do you think they understand it the same way you do? That's why the prophecy is being.
Can you talk a little bit louder? I'm sorry. Can you like put your I tried to
sorry,
turn
can
your
y'all
mic.
hear me?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
All right. Do it seem like the prophecy is being filled, like meaning that they was aware of it all along too? Because not only, like, I've seen a lot of things like throughout the Bible, not just the King James version, but just in general throughout the scriptures, a lot of stuff have came to be true. And with the way you was breaking it down, I feel like it's like the text is like a book that they are making sure they fulfill. And I'm talking about on both sides, even if it's for the Muslims with the Quran, and then the Talmud, the Quran, the Talmud, damn, what is the Old Testament? You got all the different versions, but I feel like everybody's trying to fill out or fulfill their prophecies in their text. And I feel like how you saying Iran and the Middle East is coming to, you know, like America is about to fall, the Western nations is about to fall. I feel like the 400 years is up, how you was referring to it, and now it's becoming to be true. And I don't know if I'm articulating it correctly, but because like it's a lot of things that you were saying, but I don't know. I just feel like they had the same understanding of it that some people like you do, and the people that's in power in those nations is seeing to it that these things happen. If I'm articulating that correctly.
King. I would say this. I would say, um, uh, I would say this. What King Solomon said. This is what King Solomon said. King Solomon said these words. King Solomon said in Proverbs 21:1, he said, the king's heart is in the hand of Yah, and as the rivers of the water, he turns it wheresoever he will. So the king's heart, like you said earlier, that if they know, if they move. So the spirit of Yah has got to rest on them to make them do what he would have them to do. So they're going to do it because he's going to inspire them to do it. Now, whether they're conscious with a Yah mind like you and I don't think so. We have a special vibration. We as a people have a special vibration, and that vibration that we have is Yah consciousness. And you have to know Yah, walk in his ways, and keep his way in order to have that consciousness. The clay, which is, and the iron, all of these nations, even from the head, the gold, all the way down to the soul, the toe, all the way down. All of these are anti-Yah nations. All of them, they're anti-Yah, but they're against each other. They're against each other. So they're going to be against each other to make them do what Yah say they're going to do.
I don't mean to cut you. When you mean that all of them is anti-Yah, you mean the Eastern nations or the
Honey,
Western
speak up. We can't hear you, sweetheart.
You mean? I'm
You're
sorry.
very
You
low.
mean it? You mean in the Western nations or the Eastern nations or all of the nations? Can y'all hear me?
Okay, yes, sir. I can hear you, my beloved brother. Yes, sir. Okay. I mean the whole world, because we are, you and you yourself, me, Hebrew, us, Black America, conscious. We are the kingdom of priests. We are the holy nation, the people that's going to take the righteous banner. That's what the prophet Isaiah said, that we will be a light to the nations, a covenant to the people. And so we are the ones that with Yah consciousness and walking in his commandments, his laws, his statutes, his judgments, we're the ones that's going to be able to bring righteousness to the face of the earth. The clay nations, yeah, they've been oppressed. Yeah, they got a beef against the West. But when you go to the clay nations, when I go to China and I go to Brazil and I go to India, I go to Indonesia and I go to these different nations, I see that these different nations, although they may not be Western or may not be Christian, but I do see that they practice idolatry. I see that they do not honor the ancient Hebrew Shabbat. I see that although they all murder, they all steal each other's resources. They all don't believe in the standard of, they commit all the different things that the Most High have throughout his commandments, covetousness, bearing false. They all do that. They all do that. They lie in diplomacy, whether rich or poor, whether it's India, Pakistan, or whether it's India, China. I mean, so all of whether they're clay or whether they're iron, they're still a part of that image. And that image, it represents it on the spiritual level. This is the reason that the Most High gave Daniel this revelation. On a spiritual level, that image represents Lucifer, the king of Babylon. And every ruler that comes from the head, that moves down to the chest, that moves down to the waist, that move down to the pelvis, that move down to the legs, that move down to the toes, until the day of Yah, when you and I get power and the Most High set us up and we redo the world order. All of these nations that have dominion right now, none of them fit the standard that you and I will sit in the earth when the Most High give us our chance. The scepter is not going to depart from Judah, and we right here in America. So we're going to bring a new order on the face of the earth, and this order is going to bring peace, stability, and righteousness among the nations on the face of the earth. This is what the Most High is going to use us for.
All right, so I have a question. Can everybody that's have a camera, can y'all cam up? It helps like the algorithm to recognize faces and everything. If you can cam up, that'd be great. So yeah, Mighty Hebrew, and they OBS is doing its thing. There we go. Oh my God, look at how handsome everybody is. So much handsome men on this channel. All right, so listen. My question is, all right, so we had Jesse Jackson. He recently passed away. And then you have the FBA movement that kind of like made him to be like a bad guy for like promoting the African American nomer of like who we were to be named as. So then that kind of caused him to die and no one cared, you know, like I don't know if his funeral, his death was not made a big deal. Do you think that that's by, what do you think about that? Do you think that's by design, or what do you think? Do you think that he deserved it, or what do you think about that? Because I'm trying to understand when you have like this whole FBA, it was like made to look like, well, that he was wrong by calling us African Americans, and then everybody just like, okay, so when he passes away, no one cares. Do you think that's something that is an interesting thing, or what?
Well, one thing I know about Mr. Jackson, he had a very complex, he had a very complex past. And it's not to deal with the FBA. It's more or less to deal with what I do know about him, not what I heard about, you know, things that I know. You know, I'm a publisher of a newspaper, and I'm the editor of the Jerusalem Chronicle newspaper. And I've been doing the Jerusalem Chronicle newspaper. I'll show you just a copy of it right here. This is just one issue I have right here. But anyway, I've been publishing the Jerusalem Chronicle newspaper since the 1990s. And so one thing I've had to do is kind of keep up with all different type of events. That's one thing I have to do, is keep my ear near what's happening, you know, on the streets, and you know, with how people move and things like that. And so one thing that you know, I'm from Memphis. I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee, the site where Dr. King was assassinated. And so I was 11 years old when Dr. King was assassinated. And I was old enough to remember the things that swirled around, but I was too young to understand any of the specifics. But one thing that it did touch my mind to the point that I always wanted to know exactly what happened. So I was very curious over the years as to what happened. So I kind of, you know, I've heard all different type of angles. But along the way, we had a brother, he's passed now. He had a radio station, and he was able to bring in he brought in James Earl Ray brother. He brought in the attorney from Britain who wrote a book. He brought in a whole lot of other people, and there was a man named Bear. I don't know what his real name was, but he brought these people in that was directly connected to the murder of Dr. King in Memphis, Tennessee, back in April of 1968. And so what we did learn about that, what I can say about Jesse and a few of those guys that was around Dr. King, is that some of them guys was on the payroll. Some of them guys was on the FBI payroll. And that's a fact. A fact is that before Dr. King was assassinated, Dr. King was staying in room 106 in the Lorraine Hotel. And room 106 in the Lorraine Hotel is on the inside. So if they were going to assassinate Dr. King, they couldn't get her from the inside. So they had to have Dr. King to move to another room on the outside so that they can get an aim on him. And guess who was the man who changed Dr. King's room from 106 to 306? Mr. Jackson. And he changed his room. And there's a lot of other stuff. So I don't want to like beat nobody down, anything like that. But I would just say one thing about it is that, because I know he got children and he got a family, he's a man and things like that. But I'll say this about every man, including myself and all men. You have to have integrity. You can't be double dipping. And you can't be double dipping. You can't be acting like you somebody and behind closed doors, you somebody else. You can't, you know, you can't do that. And this is that's what the creator called duplicity. You come off one way, but behind closed doors, you're another way. Don't walk with Dr. King, but talk to the FBI behind his back. Don't walk with Dr. King and take money from people that you know are his sworn enemies. That's duplicity. Smile in your face and stab you in the back. So that's what I say about anybody. That's how they not only him, but this is how they destroyed all of our movements since we've been here, and even up to where we are now. And this is what they want to do even today, is that invade, infect, and have somebody that with duplicity in their heart. And so that's one reason that people didn't care. They didn't care because people that's been around for a while, they understood some of the roles that he played as far as the duplicity was concerned.
Wow. You know
Well
what? I
said.
never knew about that. So for those that anyone that has a question, there we go. Because I was wondering, like, why does nobody care that Jesse Jackson? It's not even a big deal. Like, no, it's like, when rappers pass on, it's like a whole big thing. But when he passed on, it was nothing. It was nothing, and I was like, why?
He definitely just taught me some.
I had no idea.
I just learned some new information for sure. But like I
Yeah.
was like,
I do.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and another little drop too, man. After Dr. King was assassinated on April the 4th, they shut down all flights coming in and out of Memphis. There was only one flight that left Memphis, and that was the flight that Mr. Jackson was on, and he went to Chicago. And then when he went to Chicago, he kept the same shirt on, and he went down and dipped his hand in his shirt and put the blood on his shirt. Trying to say that he's the disciple of Dr. King, that he was right there beside him, at his death.
What?
Yeah. Trying to play himself.
Fact.
Yeah.
No,
And his
What?
you
You heard it here. If y'all have never heard this story, you heard it here. Any of y'all young guys that don't even know whatever happened? Wow, I didn't even know that. I was like, I was wondering why. Why does no one?
You know how important it is, the type of stuff that he's saying, because like you can translate this to. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
You can translate this to like how when people is living in an era of something that happened versus when you hear the playback when you older. Like when they teach us history and stuff when we get older versus people that lived in those times, you get a different perspective because you get like kind of like a bird's eye view, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Versus is like you just coming up with your conclusion off of what was documented. You get what I'm saying?
Someone say, whoever saying old news to you, you old. But there's a whole, listen, I have a mostly male audience, okay? My audience is